So, I'm Felix Barros. I'm a music tech entrepreneur, also music tech evangelist and music industry leader here in Chile. I'm the president of Mustache, the music tech association in Chile that we founded almost 9 years ago, I think. It became an official trade association 3 years ago, and we started working with different government entities to develop the ecosystem here in Chile. And then we started doing some international relationships, going through different conferences. And that's why I know some people here. I have met you before in some conferences around the world. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Fanier Labs. We were selected at California last year, and we are one of the finalists at Midterm Lab this year at the data analytics track. I have some other side projects like Probeta Music. It's an artist incubator and accelerator program. We're working with 3 artists so far here in Valparaiso. I'm also the content director of BAM, the main music conference here in Valparaiso. I'm a public funding advisor for Neural DSP. If you don't know these guys, they are killing it. They develop plugins, VST, and also now they are doing hardware, mostly for guitar players, bass players. So if you don't know them, check them out. I've helped them get almost 1 million euros from the Finnish government, from Business Finland. I'm also a board member for the Digital Observatory for Chilean Music. It's a project that we started with Mustache, with help from the government, the Ministry of Culture, and other entities. So it's an organization that is gathering data of Chilean music from digital platforms and helping us and all the industry here in Chile to understand where are the opportunities for Chilean music. I'm also a manager for Chakra Negra, one of the projects that we are incubating at Probeta. And I'm also the guitar player and composer of Pronoyas, a symphonic metal band. So first of all, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because I love music. And I think that's very important to say, because well, here at left you have my band, and at right it's the band that I'm managing. So if you're in the music industry because you think it's a good business, you're doomed. You're gonna fail. That's for sure. You can pick a lot of other better industries if you want money. So it's only your passion for music what will save you through the ups and downs of this journey. So the other thing is that the music industry value chain is very complex. You can take quite a few years just to understand how the music industry works, because you have music, you have ownership rights, you have managers, tour managers, record labels, artists, composers, performers, technicians, a lot of people in this industry. So if you're gonna develop solutions for the music industry, it's very important that you understand the industry, and you have 2 ways to do that: to live it or to study it. I think it's much more interesting to leave the music industry, try to develop your own project as an artist, or to help an artist to manage his career or his social media or his ownership rights. And then you're gonna start understanding, having a better understanding of how this industry works. Or you can also study it with very long books to get this knowledge. So Now I'm gonna talk about a few learnings that I've had with the projects that I have developed, but this also applied to other projects. I mean, the the failures that I had, the reasons were kind of the same reasons that I have seen over the years that other music tech startups are doing. So this was my first company. It was called Sonic Pollen. It was like a booking platform for artists and venues. So we were connecting artists with opportunities to perform at venues or festivals, kind of like Sonic Beats. So obviously we made a lot of mistakes as it was our first company. One of the mistakes that we had is that we built a large team from the very beginning. So we were 5 partners. I'd say that for a startup, the ideal number is two founding members, 3 maximum. And uh, my advice is to keep your team light. Like, don't rush into growing your team. You need to have an organic growth and a step by step understanding of the industry and what are the problems that you are driving. Um, so our problem was that we started with 5 co-founders with different visions, and it was very hard to take any decision in the board of the company. So we kind of had 2 groups inside the company with different visions, and we ended splitting up. So the other thing is that you really need to do the dirty work, like real customer development. I have seen a lot of music tech startups or early ideas that spent a lot of time just doing mockups and prototypes and building beautiful interfaces that at the end didn't serve at all. So it's very important that you get in touch with people from the industry to validate your ideas and to see what's the real value that you can provide them. We had this problem. We spent a lot of time developing our platform, and then we found out that it wasn't going to work if we didn't deliver a real value to the customer. And for that, you need to understand who the customer is. So we were at a two-sided project, two-sided product, because we had venues and artists. So you have kind of the egg and the chicken problem. And we have a lot of bands asking for opportunities to perform, and then we had almost no venues giving opportunities. So the thing was to understand what we can provide to the venues and the event producers that they can get in any other way. So you have to focus on real tangible value. And what we developed was kind of a way um, to understand, to put it very simple, how many beers can you sell with the bands that you have as your options for hiring, for bringing to perform at your venue. So we built like a process where you can open a process for bands to apply, and then the people from the city will pick what band they would like to see at the venue, and then we will measure um, how much did each band sell in the night in terms of beers or anything. So we were measuring the sales conversion of each band. It was an interesting concept and prototype, but then the company split up because we had different visions. We wanted to focus in the data because when we showed this solution to the music industry in some conferences, everyone was very interested in how we were getting data from fans, because in the live music industry it's very hard to know which are the fans that are going to your shows, what kind of fans, are they returning, is there someone that has seen all of your shows. You don't have that data. So that's where we wanted to focus, and we ended splitting up and started another company, the current company, but with another solution. Fanier, we started as a concert discovery app, kind of like Bands in Town or Songkick, but here in Chile. So our focus was to gather data from the fans through this app. So we were doing some gamification things to motivate the fans to do the check-ins at the shows, rate the shows, rate the venues, and we were getting this very valuable data for the people in the industry. So one of the things that I told you before is you have to try to avoid the multi-sided products. And don't you ever underestimate the chicken and egg problem, because it's very easy to solve this problem on a pitch deck. Like, no, I'm gonna do some gamification and give some points to the fans, so they are gonna hear music in my platform instead of Spotify. So that looks very well on a pitch deck, but it's very hard to deal with this problem. So if you want your startup to have better survival opportunities, try to avoid this kind of problems and try to focus on only one customer. So this is one of the problems that we had at our first startup, and we tried to avoid this with this new app. The other thing is that when you have a B2C product, an app, a platform that is focusing in end customers, in this case, the audience, the fans that are going to shows, you need a huge investment to position that platform in front of the people. It's very hard to have an organic positioning. There are really very few cases. You can't guide yourself with the biggest success cases in the world, because it's not gonna happen. You have to put yourself in the worst case scenario, and that is the case that no one is gonna is gonna see your product. So regarding the business model, try to find a B2B or B2G business model. Try to have a service that is providing value to companies or to government or bigger entities, where you can make some money to survive with a few customers. This doesn't mean that your product doesn't have to give value to the end customers, but you can have a free product, for instance, that is getting data from end customers, from the fans, but you're selling that data through another model to companies, record labels, government entities, etc. So another thing is, well, Mustache, our Music Tech Association, has been very important for us for the development of our company, and for like maybe other 12 companies here in Chile. We started as a music tech meetup when there was no music tech. It wasn't even a concept yet, but we were just young people trying to develop things, maybe like many of you in the hackathon. We started gathering, we built a network, we helped each other. And then these very young people started to become successful entrepreneurs with very nice music tech companies. We built this association, and it was very important for us as a support network. And also, as an association, we got the opportunity to position the music industry and the music tech field in front of the government entities that give support for the development of new companies. So we also have some success cases of funding programs that the government developed for creative industries and the music industry. So the music industry is still very based in trust and personal relationships and gut feeling. So you have to network as much as you can. It's very important to participate in this kind of events and conferences. So another important thing is that if you don't find the networking channels in your area, maybe there isn't any kind of music tech groups in your country or in your city, you have the opportunity to build them. And that's what we did here. It became a great opportunity of growth. And also it became our channel to go out to the world and do some really cool networking with great organizations in the world. So this is a picture from California last year at the Investor Summit. So I'm here with Ted Cohen, Grace McCallum, Matthias Strobel from German Music Tech. So it was very interesting to do this panel because we were talking about the differences of our music tech ecosystems. Of course, here in Chile, it's an earlier stage of ecosystem, so it's also very interesting to know what are the steps to building an music tech ecosystem. So as I was telling you before, being organized and support by your government also accelerates trust. We have this association. This association is supported by some government entities in Chile that are helping us to export our services and do trade missions. So it's different when you go into a new country where no one knows you and you're backed by the government. And this also accelerated the processes to build the trust and the network with different global organizations. Now we have a great relationships with MIDEM, with California, that led us into being the first organization that is joining the MediaTech initiative, which is like a global organization around MediaTech, investors, incubators, events. So that are some of the things that we have achieved that have been very helpful also for the development of our companies. So that was my short presentation. At the Slack group, I have copied these links in case you want to know more about some of the projects or just check our bands. So that's it. I'm open to any questions, suggestions, critiques. I'm doomed since day one, said Ivan. If you have any questions or comments, you can also post it through the chat. Okay, so yes, Ivan?
No, I was just seeing no one talking.
Yeah.
Is anyone taking the mic?
Yeah, guys, this is the last session. You could play your best cards here.
or don't pitch, like maybe just do a call for something. Maybe some of you need still to find some the final touch to your project.
Yeah, I have a question actually. So basically, I'll just explain really quick our project, and then I'll ask you my question. Basically, we're trying to build a platform on which people can find all live music events happening around them, mostly in bars, restaurants, like really small venues. So it would be mostly free events and pretty informal. The idea would be for them to be able to find that. Obviously, that's not possible right now, but we would want to kind of guide the transition and allow people to figure out which places are safe to go to, and kind of provide them with that information. We have the chicken and egg problem because we have a three-sided network on which all actors are bringing each other into the platform. But we're also trying to build in parallel from the events platform, basically a marketplace for venues and artists to meet each other. So maybe that's our key to the chicken and egg problem. Maybe try to build the marketplace before the event. I don't know if you have any advice, if you have any thoughts.
Yes. Well, at first, you need to be in charge of like all the content. You can't depend on venues or artists to be posting their events. You just have to be there. Starting, I don't know if you're, I suppose you're gonna prototype first and validate within a city.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, we're gonna launch it in Barcelona, and actually I've done all the research about the events, and I have a pretty good list. There's at least 30 to 40 events happening every single night of the week. So, and I have a list of events. So.
Yeah, so you have to consider that it's going to be your work to post all the events, all the data. So maybe you can also consider like starting with a specific type of event or type of music. So you can target your platform into a specific type of people. In that case, it will be easier and cheaper to position your platform in front of an audience that you can engage, because it also can happen that if you have like too many types of events and all kinds of music, it's going to be hard to engage and to position yourself to differentiate, because well, you also have Sunkick, you have Bands in Town, you have Facebook events. The other thing is that I think what is happening right now, it's also an opportunity to build new features and solutions. So maybe you can do some try to categorize or take note about what health measures are those venues and events taking, so you can kind of search for I don't know, maybe you can rate events like this one is very safe, this one is not that safe, or there are some places that are doing now concerts where you go in your car, So that's also a temporary marketplace that you can explore. Like, what are the kind of venues that can, with the current situation, do concerts.
Yeah.
So I think that there are happening a lot of changes right now, and a lot of venues are closing, are dying. So all of the huge databases that all of the other solutions have uh, are not so valuable right now, because if you have a list of venues, probably you will have to check venue by venue, and you will discover that maybe half of the venues that you have in your database are gone.
Yeah.
So building this new database of venues that have the conditions to do shows, or venues that have the hardware to do a live streaming, it's also a very interesting marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
At least I haven't seen yet like a solution for that. Like, where can I go and do my show and broadcast with good bandwidth and good quality to the world? That's another thing. I have seen uh, Instagram is right now like flooded with music live streams of very poor quality. So this kind of services can also help differentiate the artist. But well, it's very hard when you have this chicken and the egg problem.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think, how can you solve one of the two sides, like fake it, like build the database yourself and post for example, you can create the profiles of the venues, but when artists contact the venue, they're reaching you,
Yeah.
and then you take that message and get into the phone with the venue. So those are some hacks for the chicken and the egg problem.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you so much. That's super helpful.
I'd also like to ask a question. But
Okay.
yeah, okay, I'll just go first if that's okay. So just to give you some background, my name is Tom, and really from all the musicians that I've worked with, they've all agreed on one thing, which is it's not easy to have live music visuals as a part of their live streams or their live shows. And so if you can afford, the hundreds or thousands it takes to hire a professional visual artist and benefit from the boost to business and engagement that comes with that. And even if they can't afford it, it just adds all this complexity to their show about having to deal with a new crew member and getting everything set up. And so that's why over the past 2 years, I'm a programmer, I've created my application called avsync.live. And it basically makes it possible for the first time for musicians to have live music visuals themselves. So they can just plug in their laptop, and it's a web app, so they don't even download anything. And it uses the live camera input from their device and analyzes the audio in real time to create really an audio and visual experience so closely interwoven that it really becomes a very natural extension of their music. It's not distracting, but it's very unique to them. And they can, of course, upload their own branding as well. And so I guess I don't think I really have struggled with the chicken and the egg problem, because I don't need to have an installed user base to have an impactful show for an individual musician. And so the app is fully working, and I've used it at dozens of shows, and it's been great. But I'm really shifting to I have used it myself, operating it myself, right? But now I'm shifting towards, well, how can I start having more musicians use it without me being there, and rely on the automation features of it that make it so they don't have to worry about operating it. They just let their music do all the work, is the idea, right? So my question is, I'm putting a lot of thought into how best to monetize it. And it's really, to me, there seems like there's two options. I either charge a subscription service to the musicians directly, or I help facilitate a way for those musicians to get paid by their audience. And the way that would happen would be integrated live stream ticketing to the site. And so my company would take a cut of every ticket it sells to that stream, which has avsync.live visuals in it. Really the problem though with that is, you know, it's not like I'd be starting a competing streaming service, because of course that would not really work. But I'm just wondering, what should I really be chasing? Because my mission is to be empowering musicians who previously had no access to this whatsoever, because, you know, they're separated from it by, you know, thousands of dollars in technical skill and all these things that they don't have, that my app now solves through audio analysis and automation. So my question is, should I really be chasing to get money from the musicians, or help their fans bring in the money?
Uh-huh. Well, I think you also have some other alternatives. I don't think that it's the right way to go into the fans, because the value that you have is that you're having the control over the screens. So that's very valuable. So I think you can focus on what's the content that you will be broadcasting in the screen. So you can, for example, perfectly have like a freemium model where artists can access just a few templates for their visuals, and maybe you have those templates branded. I don't know, you have like a Red Bull template or something where every 5 minutes or something you have a logo coming on, and you can sell that to those brands, or you can help the artist. You already know which artists you have and what shows they are doing, so that's also a big opportunity. I mean, you have this big exposure. You know that you're gonna have like a screen at some venue with a lot of people, and that it's very valuable for brands. So
Right.
I think that that's a very interesting model that you can explore. And um, I don't know if artists are gonna pay a subscription model, because maybe they don't have so many um, shows per month, but maybe it will be more viable if you have like record labels or promoting companies that represent artists getting this service. So um, it's easier for you to scale if you only reach like one guy from a record label that is gonna perfectly understand what's the value of your service for the experience that the artist is providing. And he's also gonna understand that there's a business opportunity if you're connecting him with brands. So that's my first thoughts about it. But I think it's a great product, but it
Thank you.
also depends a
I
lot with,
appreciate that.
yeah, we've been prototyping some similar things here in Chile, but we haven't done like the work to get it into a commercial stage, like only for with this artist that I represent, Chakra Negra. We have done some interactive visuals, and we have a guy with like MIDI controller controlling some parameters live in the visuals with a Kinect camera. It's
Yeah, you know,
very
really
cool.
instead of a guy with a MIDI controller going like this, I want your music to be what's
Yeah.
turning those dials. It's been the philosophy behind my program.
Yeah, and not only the music, you can have the audience, like if you have some sort of mic into the audience or a camera into the audience, and you can know exactly when people are dancing or jumping or applauding. You can also use that to boost the experience.
Yeah, the audience loves to see themselves on the screen if you turn around the
Yeah.
camera. It's always a lot of fun. And I don't want to take too much time from anyone else, but one last thing I want to ask about um, is in an earlier version of my software, I actually had it so it would show a QR code on the screen, and anyone could just lift up their phone, scan the QR code, and then without even downloading an app at all, it would be wirelessly streaming the video to the software. And so theoretically, anyone in the audience could now be a part of what's on the big screen. And there were technical limitations, like you have to be on the same Wi-Fi is one problem for appropriate lag, having no lag. But I was wondering, like, once we start shifting back as an industry to in-person live events, is that something worth pursuing, or is that kind of more just of a novelty?
Well, that's a very interesting idea, but I have heard that idea like 10 times in different pitch competitions.
Oh, really?
Or I have seen some startups that have invested 2 or 3 years developing that. I don't know why they haven't reached like a viable state for the technology. I don't know when is it gonna be a time for that to work. So
Hopefully with 5G, that'll
I
become
think
easier.
it's something that you need to research. Just try to reach, try to find previous startups that have developed that, and try to reach the guys and ask them why they failed.
That's a great idea. If you know of any previous companies who have looked at that, I'd love to have that information shared. The real thought behind that, of course, was so that the musician can connect their phone and not have to buy a webcam or a professional camera, right? But I just was interested if there was a valuable angle there with getting the audience involved. But yeah, thank you for answering that.
Sure. Sebastian?
Hi, yeah. Hola, Felix. Really nice to meet you, and really nice to meet all of the Hispanic people involved in the challenge. What we are trying to build right now is basically an online streaming platform that is dedicated to music events like festivals, concerts. So we already addressed the chicken and egg problem, as you mentioned before, because we have the for the one side to the audience, that will be the music band user, and in the other side the people that create the content. So what we are trying to do here is to basically, we think one of our advantages will be to have like a very exclusive content. So we want to focus on working in partnerships with music festivals or event producers, music labels, media, for them to create the content. So we want to focus on them, and then we think with this kind of content, like if we have exclusive and very interesting content, the users will come eventually, you know. And that's the first part. I want to get to know what do you think about it. And my second question is, like, I've been asking to all of the mentors that have experience in this business. I really want to, if you can share with us some insights you have regarding your experience, probably with Faniar, about most three insights. The first one regarding using experience. This could be with the gamification, because you said that it is very important to get to know your user. The second one is about the business model, and the third one regarding the legal issues, because that's a thing that happens, you know.
Yeah, well, first the chicken and egg problem. I don't think that you have such a big chicken and egg problem, because it's not that hard to get the content. You just need some partnerships with record labels or artists or festivals or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you want the people to come to your platform specifically to check this content and to pay for the content, I don't know what model are you thinking?
We were thinking in a freemium model, like you can, for creating an account, it is free. You can access to limited content, but then if you can, for example, if you want to access to a live concert, you have to pay for tickets or
Okay.
subscriptions.
Okay, so I think that in order to make it a valuable experience for the fans, you can research like what are the key strategies for a successful crowdfunding campaign or for a successful Patreon profile, because that's what's gonna drive people into your platform. That what's that different thing that you're offering as an interaction or as a content. uh, what is the specific the premium content that these artists are going to share through your platform? Like, are they going to do like a featuring with a famous artist that you haven't seen anywhere else, or are they gonna do uh, covers of songs, or can the fan pick a specific song or the set list, or do some Q&A, or I don't know. You have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
think
that's what
what's
we're thinking right now, like, and to give like a very interesting interaction between the fans and the artists. Yeah, to make it engaging.
yeah. So you have I think that if you research um, successful music crowdfunding campaigns and like successful Patreon music profiles, you will get a lot of ideas of what's the type of content that you can provide and how fans can interact with the artist.
Amazing. Thanks.
And the other thing,
The other
I
thing
don't
was
know, I guess.
if you can share with us some insights that you have with Faniar regarding at first the user experience. I was thinking that you can probably give us some insights regarding the gamification that you said, about the business model. How are you making money right now, and about the legal issues?
Yeah, well, I didn't talk too much or anything at all about what we're doing as a company now. Um, I talk mostly of what we learned with our failures. So the the big change that we have as a company is that we turn into a market research company. So we gathered a huge amount of data in Chile. Our database had like 2 or 3 times the amount of events that the database of the Ministry of Culture in Chile had. And also comparing to the database of the Performing Rights Society, we also had like twice the events. So that's when we discovered that we had a lot of data to do market research. Uh, we didn't have too many users. We understood at some point that we needed a huge investment to position a platform for the fans. We tried to position that platform like maybe 2 years, but with the few resources that we had and the connections, it didn't work. But what did work was our process to get the data from the events. So we had artists and venues sending us information. We had scrapping bots getting information from Facebook and ticketing websites. Um, and then, well, we had this huge database, um, and we started. The thing is that we had a very organized database. So maybe other people had like the name of an event, the date, and the venue, or something like that. But we had the name of the artist, the musical style of the artist, where are they from, uh, what number of events they have during the year. Um, a lot of data that we started using for market research. So we started working with the town hall and some ministries here in Chile, doing some studies around the music scene, like to map the music scene. We developed heat maps, so you can see where there was where you can find the rock scene in the city or the electronic scene. We have everything geolocated. A lot of KPIs for the cities, for the public institutions, about how many artists do they have in the city, what percentage of those artists are local versus the ones that are coming from other regions, what are the ticketing prices, etc. So that's when we found our value as a service. So we started doing like tailored studies for public institutions, and then we developed the impact methodology for events. So what we were researching was how the UK was measuring the value of the music industry, and not only the music industry itself, but how the music industry is valuable for the cities, for the country, for the tourism, etc. So we started working in music tourism, how music affects tourism. And then we started working with university here in Chile with expert researchers in market research. We researched all the papers, all the state of the art regarding how to measure the impact of an event. So we came up with a triple impact measurement methodology for events, where we measure economic impact, environmental impact, and social cultural impact of big events, mostly music festivals, but we have also worked with the World Rally Championship, for example. So we measure all the different impacts in the territories. So this is very valuable information for the event producers to do all the lobby with public institutions to get the funding, to renew their funding. So the events that we have worked with have in total like $10 million in impact in Chile, and there are like maybe $3 million that are invested in culture in Chile right now because of our service. I mean, events that were gonna lose their funding, they achieved to renew their funding because they got the data. They had the KPIs to prove to all the organizations and the funding organizations that they are having a positive impact in the ecosystem, in the environment, in the local communities, in the economy. So that's what we are doing right now. So what we had as a concert discovery app is now turning into like a database of industry information. So we have a centralized database of all the events that are happening in Chile, and we are building new inputs for those events to gather more data. So you can access this platform and, for example, put all the results of the surveys that you did to your attendees, and our system automatically analyze that information, generates the impact KPIs, and brings you a dashboard where you can analyze all this information. So it's kind of complicated to explain, but that's what we're doing right now, and that's how we evolved from B2C and very dreamy solution into a very tangible value for organizations, and that's a normal thing to happen if you're in a small country, or if you don't have like a strong investment ecosystem to work with. Because as I said before, if you have a B2C solution, you need a lot of investment to put it in front of the people.
Amazing, thank you.
If no one else has a question, I have one really quick one, and it's just to really get your reaction on something. I've been working on my tagline, and I want to make it clear that I'm offering value within that tagline. So right now, with that in mind, it is see the music, see the money. What's your reaction to that, just right off the bat?
I think that's more like a slogan for
That's what I meant. I meant slogan.
or,
it's like, what is the headline 6 words on the top of my website, not my tagline. Sorry.
yeah. Well, I don't think yet that your main value is monetization for the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I will just focus on the automation side of it. Like your I mean, it's a big pain relief to just not needing to have a guy doing your visuals and running the visuals, and I think that's valuable enough to highlight it in your high pitch concept.
What about just live music visuals for all?
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you can, if you want, you can brainstorm a few sentences and send it through the Slack channel or something.
That'd be great. I'm about to actually also do a post calling for people to go ahead and test it for their streams, because I've been working really hard this past week, and it's really just about there. I'm trying to add Google Analytics though, so I actually have a sense of how people are using it. But all the pieces are there for musicians to have a really unique stream. So I'm excited to get that out there.
Nice. I'd
Thanks.
love to check it out.
Sure.
It looks like we are done. Ana or Ivan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm here. I mean, if you're good, like if no one has nothing more to say, I just thank you very much for your input. I think it's super useful for all of us, all of you, to have like a real feedback from a startupper as well, someone that really had experience on that. So I think that was like amazing, really. And I am convinced that all of our participants are thinking the same. So thank you very much about that. Yeah.
Yep. And before dying young, try hard, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And any questions before Friday? Like, sorry, Felix, you will be in the middle of some kind of
okay.
last-minute brief, but it might be interesting to hear also the kind of the last run before the submission. And so we had checkpoints with most of you guys, the one showing up to our checkpoints with Anna and me. You feel you're gonna you're gonna manage to deliver what you have here. We don't want to have some kind of scholar of things. It has to be really what you believe in. Okay, it's all good.
I was
We
actually
have,
wondering, is there a submission deadline,
yeah,
a certain time of day?
Oh,
when-
midnight. It's midnight CS like CEST, so Paris time or Madrid time or Brussels time.
Okay, and it's pretty wide open in terms of what we choose to submit as a part of that project.
Yeah. So
Okay.
maybe also Felix has some advice, but I would say it has to represent the potential of your project as a solution that can be viable for into the market. It's not only a hack. It has to be it has to become a product later on and a viable one. We are not looking for the best investment as VCs here. It could be an angle, and the best of the best will be the one useful for the artist, useful for the ecosystem, but also with a great potential in terms of reaching scale. But if there is no scale, it's also potentially interesting if there is a real service delivered by the solution. Because here, as you understand, and you understood from since the beginning, we are trying to not fix problems, but to find solutions that can, help the music sector to, get beyond this crisis with monetization experiences, and here with you guys, really interesting fan engagement and production capabilities and stuff. But the format, usually it will be a deck, but I recommend if some of you feel like you need to embody that, and you want to speak to us about why your project is relevant, go for the 1 minute or 2 minute pitch on video. You record it. Obviously, we don't have the resource and the time to go through the 54 project one by one with all the mentors involved, and it's not possible physically. But we will be pleased to, all of us during the weekend, to do our homework and watch your videos. If you record a pitch in front of your camera with no stress.
I have a small advice regarding that.
All good.
So I think that the angle will depend on the type of solution that you're building. For example, for Tom, your solution is very self-explanatory. I mean, it's literally very visual. So you just see it and you will understand what it's all about. How does it work? You don't have to get so technical into what you're building, but all the questions will be related to how do you get the solution into the artist, how you will make money with it. But then if you have another solution that has to do on how to connect venues where artists or fans, or I don't know, when you involve more people, you have a more complex model. I think that it will be all about how much have you advanced in the validation process. Do you have any proof that all these stakeholders are interested in this solution? Have you validated it with an MVP? I don't know, with a Google Sheet that it's a directory of people that venues are using, or I don't know. So that's a small advice.
And great advice, a super good one. And I will add on that, if you don't have those specific inputs, I think a good start is to have the right questions. So if you don't have the validation proof point, but you need them, tell it. But especially in this hackathon phase, I guess the fast track projects, the more mature ones which are already a solution in the market, they really need to convince partners and potential investors and stakeholders why to use this very tool with numbers and validation, market proof. We need also to be convinced about your understanding of the milestone and the steps forward for you. So if you don't have the validation, the market proof, tell us what you will need to go there. And also, this is exactly why we designed Next Stage Challenge, and with Felix on board and other mentors on board. So if it is, I need to validate with venues, tell it. But so potentially also it will confirm that you need to come to the accelerator to be confronted for us to bring you to venues in a one-to-one relationship. You see what I mean? So it goes along with Felix's remark, but also tell your not your weakness, but put your weakness into a strength. Like I need that, but as an objective, not as a weakness. Okay.
Yeah, and less is more. I mean, if you have a slide full of features, a good mentor or a good jury that has experience will know that you can't do everything perfectly, and that if you're focusing into your key, your core value, you're gonna do a better job. So I have seen like too many times, like there isn't any platform that mixes Facebook with Spotify, so we have all the Facebook and Spotify features in one platform. So that is the worst pitch ever.
Oh yeah. We are the Facebook meets Airbnb meets Second Life meets MySpace.
Lots of virtual avatar stuff.
Yeah, maybe it could work.
Well, the stage I'm at really is I want to get this into the hands as many people as possible, you know, starting essentially like tomorrow. And so I guess that's the angle I want to come at is how do I get this out there? How do I test it? How do I iterate on that and really start providing value and helping people to differentiate their streams and shows.
And something that you can't never ever say is we have no competitors. This hasn't been done.
My competitor
never.
is pulling up a YouTube video or hiring, you know, someone who costs thousands of dollars. So
yeah, you have to make clear that you know that there is a substitute, a competitor that maybe is not a tech platform or an app or anything technological, but people are solving the problem somehow.
Got it. Okay.